Hey everyone, Charlie Morgan here, and welcome to Six Figure Decentralization. Now, this video in week 7 of Imperium Academy is specifically designed to show you how to decentralize to achieve a $10,000 a month income. And if you're wondering what decentralization means, it basically means getting other people to do things for you. It's pretty much as simple as that. And what we're going to be doing in this video is sort of exploring the hiring journey that you have to make to get to 10K a month. Because usually what you're going to find in business is you are one hire away from achieving your goal. So whenever you have a goal or a big business objective in mind, you're usually just one or two hires away from making that happen. And in order for you to achieve six figures and sustain six figures, you need to expand the business beyond yourself. Now, later on in week 7, we're going to have a specific module on how to hire people and find A-player talent. And we're also going to walk about how to interview people, how to build standard operating procedures, and how to outsource things. But before we do that, I want to give you a really clear sort of linear methodology for who you need to hire, when you need to hire them, and basically what your team would even look like at six figures, if that makes sense. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start by talking about six-figure math, the big 4 KPIs, big 4 troubleshooting, sub 10K a month priorities, time and energy constraint, the 10K a month hiring hierarchy, the 10K a month hiring threshold, transcending the big 4, decentralization, visualized. So it seems a little abstract, but it'll all be pretty relevant to you. So welcome to six-figure decentralization. Getting to 10K a month and beyond is about understanding the one key idea, or really 2 key ideas, but all in one: decentralization and hiring. As you try to grow and scale your business, the ultimate constraint and bottleneck will become your time, willpower, and energy. Now, decentralization allows us to transcend your psychological and biological limitations and experience true business growth. Lots of people make big mistakes here, so let's work on understanding what decentralization actually is and how to use it to get a 10K a month. So one of the crucial mistakes that a lot of people make in the beginning when they're hiring is they forget that the business is ultimately constrained by their time and energy, because you only have so many hours in a day, and you only have so many calories to burn, and you only have so much capacity for work before you burn out. And so sometimes, in order to expand to the next level of growth, you need to start recruiting other people to leverage their time, their energy, and their burnout capacity. Because if it's all about yours, then you're not going to get very far. So to achieve this financial feat of getting to 10K a month, all you need to do is line up the right numbers. So let's talk about six-figure math. So getting to 10K a month is obviously about a few things. It's about being disciplined. It's about having the right mindset, and it's also about working hard. But above all, it's really just about one thing, and that's the math, or the numbers. All you need to do to achieve 10K a month is line up the right numbers. All of your hard work and discipline should be sunk into the pursuit of 4 KPIs. So when you're working and when you're exerting yourself to grow your business, your work should be going into one of 4 places. And you want to start looking at your business not necessarily as a business, but just as simply a collection of numbers. And when you talk about working on your business or doing work, all of your work should be engineered or in the pursuit of 4 KPIs. Now, a KPI is a key performance indicator, but I hope you would have picked that up from Apocalyptic Imperial Scale. So there are 4 numbers to track in pursuit of 6 figures. The first one is your appointment booking rate, or ABR. Your second one is your show-up rate, or SUR. Your third one is your sales conversion rate, or SCR. And your fourth one is your lifetime value, or LTV. Now, your appointment booking rate is the percentage conversion chance of someone converting into an appointment from a cold outreach attempt. So cold calling, cold DM, cold email. If you send 100 cold emails and you book 5 appointments, then you have a 5% appointment booking rate on cold email. Now, we measure this against outreach because this is the most common way to get to 10K a month directly. Now, you won't really be running ads at this level. Okay, so if you're making less than 6 figures, multi 6 figures, you're probably not going to be running ads. So there's no need to really concern yourself with KPIs related to ads. Now, you might be getting appointments from organic methods like YouTube or Instagram, but this is very subjective and specific to each person, and there is seldom a controllable appointment input. So when we talk about scaling to 10K a month, the the controllable variable for 99% of glorified freelancer entrepreneurs who are sort of stuck doing everything and want to get to 10K a month and outsource a bit is almost always outreach. It's the only thing that you can really control. Some people watching this, some of you will have audiences, but again, you can track your appointment booking rate based on views and stuff, but it's not as scientific, it's harder to iterate, and it's way harder to control, and it's way less consistent. Because you could have one YouTube video that blows up 1 month and then get no good videos for like 3 months. So I'd always rather rely on outreach to get clients than content. And so the main strategy for getting to 10K a month in terms of your appointment flow is just outreach. You still want to create content, but it should be something like that is sort of like a bonus, if that makes sense. Like the calls that you get from content are like bonus calls. But the main backbone of your business and in the main sort of lifeblood of your company should absolutely be outreach, unless you've got some massive audience. Now, if you're doing content to get clients and it's working, you should keep doing it. But just understand that it can be unpredictable at times in its ability to deliver you consistent results in terms of appointments and clients. What I mean here is that effort to result isn't linear. So there's a ratio in client acquisition called the effort, well, I kind of came up with this, so it doesn't exist, but I created it basically. It's called the effort to result ratio. And this basically means how much effort you put into something compared to the result you get from it in terms of appointments and clients. Now, when it comes to content, I've made videos before that have required very little effort and got me a huge result. And I've made content before that have required me a ton of effort, but have got me very little result. And so with outreach, it's very, very linear. And that means there's a very predictable relationship between these two things. With outreach, if you do double the volume, you'll get double the appointments. With outreach, if you do half the volume, you'll get half the appointments. But with content, sometimes you can make a video or a piece of content that takes you 10 minutes and it gets 1 million views, and that's happened to me a couple of times before. Or you can make content that takes you an entire like 3 days and it only gets 30,000 views. And so, obviously views aren't what we're really looking for necessarily, but it's appointment flow, right? But my point here is, unless you have a really big brand and you've already got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, a loyal audience base, then you can't really rely on content. You should still do it, but it's not going to be the predictable, consistent catalyst that's going to deliver you consistent $10,000 months. Content's a bonus. Because making double the content doesn't always mean double the appointments, but double the outreach definitely means double the appointments. It's kind of similar with ad spend. Like if you're running ads at a low level, if you scale your ads effectively, then you will usually scale your appointments effectively as well. So outreach is linear. If you have a predictable system, doubling inputs will double outputs. Now, the next thing is your show up rate. So the first thing that we're optimizing for is your appointment booking rate on your outreach. This is probably by far the most important metric in your entire business, because you can only really know your show up rate, your sales conversion rate, and your lifetime value if you know your appointment booking rate is good, because appointments feed shows, which feed sales calls, which feed clients. So the show up rate is the percentage chance of a prospect showing up to the call that they've booked. It's pretty simple. This is tracked when you book a call and noting whether the call shows up. So let's say from your outreach, you book 50 appointments in 1 month, and of those 50 appointments, 25 people show up to the call. That means you have a show up rate of 50%. Now, this can vary depending on the quality of the leads, your offer, how warm people are, how nurtured they are, etc., etc. But generally speaking, a good industry standard is anything north of 60%. If you're doing like intimate outreach where you're building relationships with people, then it should be higher. If it's content, it'll be higher. But generally speaking, 60% is a really good spot to aim for. I know pretty much all the gurus in this space, all the big info guys making millions a year, and a 60% show rate is considered pretty damn good. Like getting above that is possible, but requires a big set of infrastructure. So the third one is sales conversion rate. So this is the percentage chance of a sales call converting into a client. This is measured against how many calls are conducted and how many calls compared to how many calls showed up. So let's say, for example, that I book 100 calls and 50 of them show up. I have a 50% show rate. Let's then say of those 50 people that show up, 10 of them buy. What that would mean is I have a 20% sales conversion rate because 10%, 20% of 50 is 10, okay? Now the next thing is your lifetime value. And this is how much money each client is worth to you. This is how much money you make from each client on average over their lifetime with you. This is measured by how much you charge per month if you're not charging, monthly, if you're not doing one-time payments. So if you do a one-time payment and that's all your client pays you, then that's your lifetime value. But if you charge them monthly on a retainer, or if you break the payment up into installments, then you need to calculate your lifetime value. And it's multiplied by how many months they stay. So let's say, for example, you have a $10,000 product and a lot of clients can't afford that up front. So you break it down over 10 months and you charge them $1,000 a month for 10 months. I can guarantee you that you will probably only collect 60% of that average, maybe slightly more. People don't finish their payment plans often. Like it's a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. Some people will pay once and leave, some people will pay the full amount, and a few people will land in between. But you need to know your lifetime value and you need to improve your lifetime value and find ways to keep clients paying or keep them for longer. Now, if you can and have the option to just charge a one-time payment, big lump sum, then you should actually absolutely do that. And, let's say you have a 12-week training program for health and fitness and, you want to charge 10K. Then what you could do is say, okay, Mr. Prospect, it's $10,000 for 12 weeks. But if you want a payment plan it, then it's $12,000 for 12 weeks, which means it's 20% more. Well, it's probably a little more than that, but it's 20% more if you want to split it up. And then what you would do is you'd split the payment into 4K a month. And then that way people are incentivized to pay up front. You always want to aim to collect as much cash as you possibly humanly can on the first call, because nothing will improve your lifetime value quite like increasing the amount of cash that you collect at the initial outset of the sale, okay? So some coaches and agencies will charge payment plans, but these payment plans won't always collect in the full amount, but you need to have a strong grip on these numbers. And so the point I'm making here is that in your pursuit of this 10K a month mark, the only things that you should be focusing on are, how do I improve my appointment booking rate to get more appointments? How do I improve my show-up rate to get people to show up to the calls that are booked? How do I improve my sales conversion rate to make sure that I'm properly converting people that show up? And how do I increase my lifetime value, i.e. how do I extract more money from people that I sell? These 4 things are what we would call points of efficiency. The more efficient each of these metrics are, and the more efficient, I don't know why I've got an Arabic keyboard popping up here. The more efficient that each of these metrics are, the more efficient your business will be. Now, it's worth noting that every metric depends on the metric before it to be efficient. And so you can have an insane lifetime value, but if your sales conversion rate is awful, then you're not going to get any clients or enough clients to properly experience the benefits of having an incredibly efficient lifetime value. And so if you're wondering the hierarchy of what to focus on first, it's always going to be appointment booking rate. Because the only way that you can improve your show-up rate is to basically get appointments and then try different things to get them to show up. But you can't try and test if you don't have appointments. By the same token, that you can't really work on your sales conversion rate without calls to practice on and calls to listen back to and a high volume of appointments to, adequately test new scripts and work on your objection handling skills, etc., etc. And so there's no point in having an insane appointment booking rate and an insane sales conversion rate if your show rate is like 10%. So you need to identify the bottleneck, but it's usually going to be the beginning thing, and then you work your way up the hierarchy. So what are the numbers that you actually need to hit 10K a month? Because the question then becomes like, okay, well, I know these metrics are important, but what does that look like? Like, what does 10K a month math actually look like? And it's really simple. We've got the big 4 KPIs. So these key performance indicators are really what you're going to want to try to achieve to make 6 figures possible. So I'm telling you now that all you need to do to hit 10K a month is find an appointment booking rate on a system of 1%, a show-up rate of 60%, or 50% really, but 60% would be great. a sales conversion rate of 20%, and a lifetime value of at least $3,000. Now, the ultimate piece of leverage that you have here is the price. Like, it's way easier to double your prices or triple your prices than it is to double or triple your appointment booking rate, your show up rate, or your sales conversion rate. In fact, I'd argue it's pretty much impossible to triple the show up rate because you can't get a 180% show rate. So understand that the majority of the leverage in your business is always the price, because you can increase this from 3K to 6K and maybe only see a little dip in sales conversion rate. But what you cannot do is just magically increase your sales conversion rate, your show up rate, or your appointment booking rate. These require testing and iteration, but lifetime value is really about how much of a sort of pair of balls you've got. And I mean that with respect. It's like, lifetime value and your price is about the confidence you have in your product and your sales ability. Now, there is a portion of this where the financial availability of your market will come into play. If you're working with people that have no money and are super broke, that will influence how much you can charge. But I can promise you that 80% of your ability to charge more depends on your confidence in your product and your perception of how valuable it is. Because if I asked you right now, hey, look at your product. If you were to double your prices, do you think it would be worth it? If you were to say, probably not, or you hesitated in any way, shape or form, then if you tried to charge more, then you would hesitate in charging more, which means that your prospects would pick up on the energy in the sales call and hesitate to buy. But if you look at your product and say, yeah, I could charge double for this, it's well worth it, then you should absolutely do that. Because you can literally double your business overnight by just doubling your prices. You can triple your business overnight by just tripling your prices. But the only way for that to work and to be feasible is, one, if your market can support that decision, but two, if you are confident in that pricing. Those are the two variables. The market will almost always be able to support the decision. I've never really experienced this where increasing my prices resulted in this. But what I've done consistently over the last 3 years of my business is increase my prices in 20% increments. And so if your sales conversion rate is above 20%, and your average order value, which means the amount of cash you collect up front, is 40%, 30% of the entire price, then you should look to increase your prices. So say you're charging 10K, and right now you collect an average of $3,500 up front on the first sales call, and you're converting it 25%. Then you need to increase your price. If you were charging 10K and you're only collecting 1K up front and converting at 10%, then you absolutely should not increase your price. Maybe even look at decreasing it. But if your sales conversion rate and average order value, i.e. upfront cash collection, are above 20% and above 30%, then you should increase your prices by at least 20%. And if your sales conversion rate is like 40% and your lifetime value is like 50%, then you should literally just double your price. So with these numbers, which are honestly kind of the bare minimum, we can calculate the following. So the key is having a lifetime value or a customer value of at least 3K. Like if you're working with anything less than this, getting to 10K a month with this business model is going to be near to impossible. Not impossible because your lifetime value could be like 1K, but that means you need to sign 10 clients a month. Like the difference between $1,000 and $3,000 is minimal. Like if someone can find $1,000 for a service, they can find $3,000. If they can find $2,000, they can find $4,000. If they can find $5,000, they can find $6,500. You need to realize, like, if you can't just go from like a 1K product to like a 10K product because it's too much of a jump. But if you're charging like 1K, you can definitely charge 2. If you're charging 3, you can definitely charge like 4. If you're charging 5, you can definitely charge 6. There's always room to increase this because it's not that much of a difference. But the minimum LTV needs to be at least 3K. Like if you're not averaging at least $3,000 a client, then getting to 10K a month is going to be really difficult. Because with this, all you need to do is get one client every 10 days. That's less than a client a week. Okay? But if you're charging like 1K, then you need to get like a client every 2 days, every 2 working days, which is insane. Now, well, bear in mind, I mean, it's not insane. I signed 50 clients last week. So it's like, you can get there. We can do upwards of, sometimes like 10 deals a day. 10 high ticket clients a day, right? But you're not there yet. So with these numbers, which are kind of the bare minimum, we can calculate the following. Well, actually it wasn't 50, by the way, it was 47, but you get the point. So if you send 100 outreaches every weekday of the month with these KPIs in mind, you would book 20 calls, you'd conduct 12, you'd sign 2 to 3 clients, and you'd make $6,000 to $9,000. Now, if we increase the outreach volume to 200, which is the second lever point that we have, because again, you can double or triple your prices pretty quickly, or you can increase your price by 20 to 50% pretty quickly. You cannot improve your appointment booking rate overnight. You cannot improve your show rate overnight, and you cannot improve your sales conversion rate overnight. These are iterative processes that take time, energy, and effort. This you can increase quickly. The other point of leverage you have is how much outreach you do. The two things that are in your control are your price and this. At least these are all in your control, but slower. So if we decided to double our outreach to 200 a day on every weekday, so Monday to Friday, just by doubling this, we would then book 40 calls instead of 20. We would conduct 24 instead of 12. We would get 4 to 6 clients instead of 2 to 3, and then we'd make 12 to 18K a month. Now, if we decided to go even harder and do 300 outreaches every weekday, we would book 60 calls, we'd conduct 36, we'd sign 6 to 9 clients, and we could make upwards of nearly 30K a month. And so you can sort of see the difference here between doing the bare minimum outreach, doing 200 and doing 300. And, not to mention, if you just double how much outreach you do and just increase your prices by a bit, then you're not only going to double the business on this front, but increase it by this front as well. And so people ask me all the time, like, Charlie, what's the big secret to getting to 10K a month? And, what's the secret? Like, what is the one thing you have to do to get to 10K a month? Well, it's pretty much 3 things. Get these numbers in KPI, increase your prices, and just double or triple the outreach volume that you do. If you do those 3 things, it's simple math. You're going to get there, if that makes sense. Now, this is simple math. And what this shows you is that all you need to do to get to 10K a month is engineer these key performance indicators. You can model this out with any numbers you want. So even if you have a 0.5% appointment booking rate, a 1,500 LTV, and a 40% show rate, you can still get to 10K a month. You just need to do significantly more outreach. And so the reason that we want to achieve these numbers specifically is because if we have these numbers at minimum, then 10K a month becomes incredibly viable with just doing 100 or 200 outreaches a day. If your appointment booking rate was like 0.5% and your show rate was half, then you have to do literally quadruple this. But these numbers make it quite reasonable for a one-man army or a small team of appointment setters to help you get to 10K a month. Understand that achieving 6 figures isn't necessarily about luck or skill or working harder. Heck, it's not even about mindset, really. Like, the reason we do the mindset stuff is just to do the work to find these numbers, right? At the end of the day, all the mindset stuff is you basically just doing the work to actually achieve these results, right? These numbers. It's truly just about engineering your systems to spit these numbers out over and over again, and then increasing the volume of input through the system, and that's literally it. Now, this is why you can't really scale with content at the start, because it's not a controllable input. You can make more content and make your content better, and this can really help, but some people can build multi-7-figure businesses or 7-figure businesses with just a YouTube channel. But for the sake of predictability and consistency, an outreach component is crucial. So, when I have my YouTube channel, that took us from 100K a month to 300K a month just with one YouTube channel, but it was sometimes unpredictable. So troubleshooting the big 4. So what you've got to realize is that this video exists to lay out what you need. And, that is a ABR, an SUR, a SCR, and an LTV within KPI. But it's really worth noting and understanding that all of these KPIs here are controllable. You can literally manipulate them to achieve these numbers. And so what I wanted to do in this video was sort of give you a broad overview of what can go wrong to contribute to these things. Now, in terms of how to solve what can go wrong and actually sort of work on the troubleshooting. Why is that popping up? Sorry, just a second here. I've got this like annoying, we'll just put the thing up here. That's fine. Okay, so where were we? So what I'm not going to do in this video is kind of give you the solutions to solving these problems, because that's what Premium is for. But more importantly, that's what EasyGrow is actually for as well. Like if you want to solve these things real quick and get through the troubleshooting really fast, then EasyGrow is literally designed to solve all these problems. This video is just to highlight the problems and make you aware of them. So since the key to getting to 10K a month is just about lining up these 4 metrics and putting volume through them, let's talk about at a high level how to troubleshoot these metrics and what could potentially be going wrong if you are or were out of KPI. And we will just highlight that. So first of all, if your appointment booking rate is out of KPI, i.e. your appointment booking rate is less than 1%, the first reason could be poor deliverability. And this is basically where the message, the email, or the phone call, or the SMS, or whatever method you're using, doesn't reach the person you're trying to contact. So in outreach, you obviously have the decision maker. And what you're doing is you're delivering a stimuli, a sequence of words, or an image, or a voice note, or a video, through a medium, like a phone call, or an email, or a message, or a text. And one of the main reasons for appointment booking rate being poor is the fact that the message or the email, the phone call, the text doesn't actually reach the decision maker. And so this can be because the message flags as spam against algorithms. It can be because you're not able to get past gatekeepers. It can be because you're not hitting DM inboxes, and it can be because of low pickup rates or scene rates. So you could make up 300 cold calls, but if you're calling from a non-local number, you might get a pickup rate of like 5%. In the same way that if you do Instagram outreach and you do it in ways that we don't teach in EasyGrow, then you can hit the spam inboxes in Instagram and get no one actually seeing your message. With email, if you don't send emails properly, you'll have poor deliverability, but that's covered in EasyGrow. So then we have poor reply rates. So this is where you get good deliverability and you get the temporary attention of the right person, but you don't seem to convert this window of opportunity into any further interest. And so this is where someone picks up the phone and you get hold of them. It's where they open your email. It's where they see your DM. But if they don't reply, it's because you have weak messaging and no hook. There's no tangible offer, or the message doesn't resonate with the market. Now the third thing is poor booking rates, which means that you've done the first two. So you get deliverability, you get viewership of the stimuli, you get replies and you get people interested, but then you get no bookings. So this is because of a slow response time to interested replies or booking requests. So say someone DMs you back and says, hey, yeah, sure, let's book a call, and you take like a day to get back to them. They're just going to forget about you. Limited calendar availability can contribute to this, and also a weak follow-up game. So following up on people less than 7 times who are warm. So these are the reasons why ABR will be out of KPI. Almost every time it's poor deliverability, it's poor reply rates, or it's poor booking rates. And when you have a poor ABR, you need to start looking at these things and trying to solve them. Now, the reason that your show rate would be out of KPI is, one, because you're scheduling people out too far in advance. So you never want to book an appointment, a sales call, any further than 3 days in advance. Because any further than 3 days and the show rate just falls off a cliff. Not nurturing people between the booking window and the call being conducted. So there's a window we call the booking window. And what that basically is once someone has booked an appointment, there's a time elapsed between them booking that and them showing up, which could be 24 hours, 48 hours. And what you want to do between them booking and them showing up is nurture them, contact them, send them value, keep them up to date, have them confirm the call. If you're not nurturing, they just won't show up. And then limited availability, causing people to book at cursed times. So if your calendar is all fucked up and people can only book at 5 a.m. local time for them, or 9 p.m. local time for them, then you're screwed. So the reasons for your sales conversion rate being out of KPI can be a weak discovery, a weak pitch, a weak objection handling process, weak closing, weak follow-up game, or if your prices are too high, but this is quite rare. Now in Easy Grow, we go into all of these things in way more detail than the Academy, so when you feel ready, you can check that out. If you feel like these are the problem, then you need to get Easy Grow, because like if with the current sales training in Academy, like you're still struggling with these things, and you probably just need a bit more training. If you're not as inclined to sales, then you're going to need Easy Grow for that. So lifetime value can be out of KPI because you're charging too little, or because you have poor retention. So either you're not charging enough in the first place, or you're just not keeping the people that you do charge. And this is caused by poor service, poor onboarding, poor support, etc. Now, if you have got all of them in KPI, like if your appointment booking rate is 1% and your show up rate is 50%, 60%, your sales conversion rate is 20%, and your lifetime value is at least 3K, and you're still not making $10,000 a month, then you simply aren't doing enough volume. So all it takes with these numbers above is about 150 outreaches a day. That is all you have to do. If you have these numbers, let me make this very clear. If you have these numbers at a minimum, all you have to do to make $10,000 a month is send 150 emails, make 150 cold calls, send 150 texts, or 150 DMs. That is it. It's like that's all you've got to do, is just pick the outreach method that you're using and hit 150 people every single weekday, and you'll make 10K a month. And that's not a lot to ask for that level of income. This is usually the primary reason most people are stuck below 10K a month. So a lot of people do is they just do like 30 outreaches a day. Or they do like 50 outreaches a day, or they just try and do like 10. They do like 10 a day. They're like, oh, I'm not getting any clients. It's like, well, dude, if you've got a 1% appointment booking rate and you're sending 10 outreaches a day, then you're going to get one appointment every 10 days, which means you're going to conduct an appointment you're going to conduct 3 appointments a month. Like, that's a joke. Because if your sales conversion rate is 20%, then you're only going to sign like 1 client every 2 months. Like, how the hell that? Which means that you're only going to make like $1,500 a month, which is probably where you're stuck right now. Do you know what I mean? It's a joke. So you've got to get serious about this volume thing. And then your question is like, oh, but how do I get the volume if I haven't got the time? It's like, well, my question would be, what the fuck else are you doing? Because, look, dude, if you're making like 2K a month, then you haven't really got much to do in the way of client delivery, because at max you've got 1 client or 2 clients. You haven't got anything to do in terms of sales calls, because you're not doing any sales calls because you're not making any money. So what the hell are you doing? If you haven't got much client work to do and you haven't got any sales calls to do, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's a really critical, serious question. Like, what the fuck are you doing with your time? And I'm going to get a little bit serious about this here. What the fuck are you doing? If you're making, like, let's say you're making 2-3K a month, you've got a couple of clients and you're working for them, and you're conducting maybe like 1 or 2 sales calls a week, through referrals or just by chance. You're spending, 1 to 2 hours a week doing sales. So let's say that there's 50 hours for you to work in the week, because obviously you're still a pussy and you haven't got work ethic. I'm obviously joking, but let's say that there are 50 hours in the work week. 2 of those are done conducting sales calls, and let's say that another, I don't know, let's say you've got a couple of clients and you spend an hour a day on each client. So 10 of those hours are spent delivering results, which means that of the 50 hours in the week you have, 2 hours are spent doing sales and 10 hours are spent doing delivery, which means you still have 38 hours left in the week to do something. And you're going to tell me and make an excuse that you can't find the time to do more outreach? Come on. Do you know what I mean? This is how a lot of people think. It's how a lot of people get stuck. Is they end up just getting busy and doing all this weird, stupid shit, like, going on, like doing podcast things, or like making this content, or building out their websites and their social profiles, and making all these weird automations that don't matter, and making all these Google Docs, and like doing all this stuff when really none of that matters. The only thing that matters is doing the outreach. Understand the difference between you and someone making 10K a month is that person does a lot more outreach than you. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm telling you that these numbers here are not hard to find. Like, they really aren't, especially with the stuff you've got in Premium and especially with Easy Grow. Like, these numbers are not hard to achieve. They're just not. It's so easy to get them. So all you have to do is more outreach. And I'm just so sick of people saying they haven't got the time, or like, oh, like, how do you find it? It's like, figure it out. It's like, oh, but lead sourcing takes too long. Well, figure it out. Like, spend the 30 hours in a week you've got ruthlessly obsessing over how to systemize lead sourcing and make it faster. You know, spend 30 hours watching every single YouTube video you can find on lead sourcing. Like, you'll solve the problem and you'll fix it and figure it out if only you dedicate all of your mental horsepower to that thing. So if you haven't got the time to send 150 per day, then figure out how to build systems that give you the time. You know. So sub 10K a month priorities. So priorities are measured against what makes you the most money. So when we talk about priority in business and things that are the most important, at the end of the day, the most important thing is always going to be the thing that contributes the most to your revenue and your cash flow or your profit. So if you're making less than $10,000 a month, then this should be the list of priorities you have throughout the day. So let's say that you've got 10 hours in the day, okay? And you get to structure your day in terms of priority. The number one priority is always to get your clients results. Always. Like, it's more important to do client results than sales calls. And it's more important to do sales calls than outreach. But when you've got nothing left to do from a client results perspective, and you've got nothing left to do from a sales perspective, then you should do outreach. The reason, by the way, we prioritize keeping clients over getting new ones is because it's way easier and requires way less energy to keep clients than it does to get new ones. So we've got two rules, and it's really simple. Rule one, if you don't have anything to do for your clients, i.e. you've done everything for them, you're just waiting for stuff back, or you're waiting for results to come in, or whatever, then you should be trying to get clients by doing sales calls, or by following up on your pipeline and nurturing deals. Clients take number one priority because it's easier to keep them and get a new one, okay? In the same way that it's more important to conduct sales calls than get them, because it's easier to conduct them than it is to get them. Does that make sense? Now, rule two, so rule one is client results first. But if you haven't got any client results to do, then you should be doing sales activity. But if you don't have any sales calls to conduct or pipeline to nurture, then you should focus on getting some. So you need to do outreach. So truly, anything that isn't results delivery, sales or outreach is a waste of your time. Now, with the one exception of accounting and bookkeeping, like, you're gonna do some financial stuff, but that's like an hour a week tops, right? And so the point I'm making here is, like, if you're wondering, like, what's the highest leverage thing in your business, it's gonna be getting your clients results. But like, if you've got clients, like, let's say that you're a fitness coach and you're doing one-on-one coaching for your clients, and let's say that you do a weekly call with your clients and you look over their workout plans and their diet plans and stuff. Like, it shouldn't be taking you like much time to deliver results. Like, when I had my marketing agency, when I worked with gyms, I ran Facebook ads for gyms. The first week of getting a new client set up took me, a good like 2-3 days of, pure focus to get them onboarded. But once they were onboarded, all I really had to do was spend maybe 30 minutes a day just writing some ads and checking their campaigns, logging their metrics and reporting to them. And that was it. It's like the clients were paying me like $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. And all I would do every day after the first week was just check their account, report the data, and add new ads to their campaign and keep things fresh. And that was it. And so, it wasn't until I got to 7 or 8 clients and I was doing maybe 5 or 6 hours of client work a day that I really started to break down and struggle. But if your business is structured, you should really be able to handle, if you were just doing client results, you should be able to handle 15 to 20 clients, at least. Now, if you're doing sales calls as well, then it's going to be less, but this is kind of my point, and I'm going to walk you through the strategy for what to outsource and when, but ultimately the last thing you're ever going to outsource is client results. Because if you've got 15 clients on board and they're all paying you $2K a month, which is a reasonable thing for them to pay you if you're doing done for you good result solutions, then you can be making 30K a month by just doing work for your clients. And that's kind of where you want to be, right? And at that point, you can have sales reps, appointment setters, etc., etc. So time and energy constraint. So the natural question then becomes, well, Charlie, how the hell am I supposed to find the time to do 150 outreaches a day whilst also doing sales calls, delivering results, onboarding clients, supporting them and chasing leads and making content? Well, we kind of talked about this, how you're probably not spending as much time doing this than you think, and you're just making excuses. But how am I supposed to manage these priorities and do this outreach? Like, how the hell am I supposed to do like 200 outreaches a day and find the time for that? Well, first of all, you just do it because you should have the time because you haven't got anything else to do, and you shouldn't be doing anything but outreach if you haven't got clients yet, or sales calls or client results. But it's a good question. And the question is that you don't. You're not supposed to do it all. The key, my friend, is to start making hires. So until you hire people, you are truly just a glorified freelancer. Now, most normal humans start businesses, but never become proper entrepreneurs because it never really crosses their mind that they can actually just pay other humans to make them more money. So this might seem just like really basic business knowledge, but the reason that most entrepreneurs get stuck is because they come from, as everyone does, like a normal background. Like, you're not born an entrepreneur, you're usually born, working or, growing up in a working family. And because of that, like, no one really thinks about hiring people. Like, it doesn't really cross your mind that, at least not for a while, that you can really literally just take the money that you've got and use it to buy people. And I mean that in like every sense of the word, obviously not in terms of like slave labor or anything, or slaves weren't paid, I don't think, but a lot of them weren't. And that's kind of the point being a slave, right, is it's unpaid labor. But the point I'm making is you can literally buy people. Like, you can give them money and they will do things for you and they will make you more money. And so the ultimate form of sort of leverage that you have as a business is labor. And it's being able to spend your money on other people, and by them, by investing in their time and energy, by them using their time and energy in your business, you make more money. And this is the game, this is the game. It's the biggest shit in mindset. Shit? That's hilarious. It's the biggest shift in mindset. Sorry about that. It's the biggest shift in mindset that you need to have to break past 6 figures. Because the game is all about energy and time. It's about finding as much energy and time as possible and putting it into your systems to drive up KPIs and volume of outreach. But no one ever said it has to be your energy and time. See, most beginner entrepreneurs don't give themselves permission to start making hires and taking advantage of other people's energy and time. Understand that you, as a business owner with some time and money, can literally pay other humans to do things for you. And you can pay them a fraction of what you make as a result of them doing it. This is the game. The crucial mistake that early consultants or agency owners or coaches make is hiring the wrong people or hiring for the wrong roles. Now, we'll talk more about how to hire the right people in a later video this week of training, so don't worry about this, but for now, let's talk about roles. So in terms of hiring, you can pay someone $1,000 a month and literally make back $10,000 a month. I've got sales reps on my payroll who work for, 10 to 15% commissions. And what that means is that if a sales rep closes me $100,000 in revenue, in cash, they will make 10 to 15K and I will keep $90,000 to $85,000. And obviously in return, I generate them the appointments, I front all the risk of the ad spend, I build the product, I manage the clients. So it's a pretty sweet deal for them because they get to make 6 figures by literally just talking to people on the phone. But as the business owner, I can pay them that money to get an insane return. In the same way that, I can pay my, you won't do this for a long time, but I pay my marketing manager, my CMO, multi 6 figures, and she gets a revenue share. And, she does all of our ads, So from advertising, we can make like 600K, 700K a month, sometimes more than that, to be honest, And so I can pay my marketing manager, let's just say, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I pay her, but let's just say that I paid her 20K a month, 30K a month, right? And, I can pay her 20, 30K a month. and then make back, $500,000 in revenue from the ads that she runs, 600 grand. So in the same way that I can have a sales manager on board, and I can pay that sales manager again, 20K a month, 30K a month, and have that sales manager, run the entire sales team and make me $1 million a month. And so this is the game, it's understanding that you can literally take the money that you make and give it to other humans, and those humans will do things for you to make you more money than they cost you. So using our knowledge of what we talked about earlier with really what you're going to be working on, there are 4 things that we need to hire for if you're making less than 10 to 20K a month. Now, I say this with a pinch of salt because really you're not going to hire anyone to do your sales calls or do your service delivery if you're below 10K a month. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. But there's only really 4 roles you need to hire for in the business, full stop. Really, I'm going to put here 100K a month, because getting to 100K a month is truly just about hiring. Let's make it 50 because you're going to have operations and ads and shit. But getting to 50K a month is about these things. But specifically for 10K, it's going to be outreach and personal work bullshit. But these are the 4 roles you need to hire for. So first is outreach, second is sales calls, then service delivery, and then personal work bullshit. Now, you can't really and don't really need to hire for anything else. You see, you're not running ads, your content can't be made or produced by anyone else, you don't have any complex financial systems that need managing, and you don't have any operational drag that requires an operations person. There's very little to do in your business besides doing outreach, conducting sales calls, and delivering results. So one thing that I see early entrepreneurs do is they start making hires that just don't need to exist. They just start hiring people to do things that they just create jobs for people. It's weird. So there's a 10K a month hiring hierarchy. So let me give you this scenario, which is probably what you resonate with. You are a glorified freelancer with a couple of clients making between 1 to 5K a month. You do everything yourself, and you're slightly off the ground with your business, and you're working for yourself, but ultimately you're constrained by your energy and your time. So here's the order of hiring to get to 10K a month. Now, again, we're not really going to be making these hires to get to 10K a month. Remember my story with how many clients you can handle before you start breaking? You should not be outsourcing service delivery or sales calls. Really, you shouldn't be outsourcing any of this stuff until you're making 20, 30K a month. And once you figure this out, once you start making 10K a month, the next thing to then outsource is service delivery. And the final thing you outsource is sales calls, because it's easier to outsource service delivery. It's easier to find a good coach or a good consultant or a good media buyer to do your results than it is to find a good sales rep. Trust me, the sales hiring thing is by far the hardest. Okay. So yeah, the first thing we do is outsource outreach. The second thing we do is outsource personal work bullshit. Once you've done these 2 things, these are the only 2 hiring things you need to do to get to 10K a month. Okay? Once you've done that and you've got to 10K a month, you can start looking at outsourcing your service delivery. And then really what happens after you've outsourced your service delivery is your day then becomes about just doing non-stop sales calls. And that's how you get to 50 to 100K a month, is when you are literally just doing 8 hours a day of sales. And then you send all your clients to someone who's doing the service delivery. And then at that point, that's when you start closing a client a day, 2 clients a day. You're conducting, 6 calls a day. You're closing a client a day. Your average client is now worth $5,000. And that's when you get to the 100K a month mark, is when all you do is sales calls. But in order to get there, first of all, you need to get the appointments steady. Then you need to sort out, all of your other bullshit. Then you need to outsource service delivery and then sales calls. So for the sake of just getting you to 10K a month, we're only going to talk about these 2 things. But know that once you get here, then it's service delivery and then it's sales. But you don't outsource sales, honestly, man, until you're making at least 50 to 100K a month. So outreach. So the very first thing to hire for is always outreach. This is because every other hire depends on outreach being consistent. Outreach is the easiest role to hire for because it requires a lot less thinking and skill than something like sales or delivery. All you need to do is find a set of variables that consistently perform and then you execute. Understand that the people you hire for outreach should not be responsible for building the system. So one crucial mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make when they try and hire for appointment booking is they try and hire people to quote unquote build the system. Like, oh, I'm going to hire an appointment setter to do this for me. And then they try and outsource the critical thinking. Like, that will not work. Trust me, I know that you want it to. And I get it. Like, I appreciate that you want to just be able to hire someone to just build it all for you. I've seen 1,000 people try and do it and 1,000 people fail with it. You can only hire people to do outreach once you yourself know how to book appointments and have scripts and processes that work. Okay? This is crucial. I'm going to repeat this. You can only hire people to do outreach for you once you yourself know how to book appointments and have scripts and processes that actually work. Because what I can tell you is that finding a 1% appointment booking rate is something that you have to do yourself. And once you have a series of systems that delivers a 1% appointment booking rate, then you can go and give that to someone else to execute on it for you. What you cannot do is take a system that doesn't work, hire someone to run it, and then expect them to fix it. Because they won't. They won't give a fuck, they won't care, and they won't get results for you. So say that you have a cold calling system that books 3 calls for every 150 calls that you make. That can be given to an outreacher. Now, when I say outreacher, I also refer to like outreachers as appointment setters. You get my point. So as a rule of thumb, when you hire for outreach, you don't stop doing outreach yourself. So what a lot of people do is they go ahead and they hire someone to do their appointment booking, or they hire people. And then as soon as they hire those people, they just stop doing outreach. But it's like, you haven't got a sure thing. So not until the people you've hired are capable of fully booking your calendar. So the only excuse you have to not do outreach yourself is when you don't have a sales call or a client to deliver for. Get that through your head. Like, you cannot run away from this. If you've got a spare hour in the day, that should be spent doing outreach or spent hiring someone to fill that slot. Okay? So not until the people you've hired are capable of fully booking your calendar do you stop doing outreach. Your only objective is to book as many calls as you can per day. And until your outreach hires are booking more calls than you used to book, you can't stop doing it. Like, truthfully, like, the only thing that you should be doing throughout the day is client results and sales calls. But remember, if you haven't got any clients to deliver for, then you do your sales. If you haven't got any sales activities to do, then you do outreach. So I don't care if you've got 50 appointment setters on board. If you've got a free hour in the day, that hour should be spent doing outreach. So say right now that you're booking 3 calls per day yourself by cold calling. When you hire people to do outreach, you need to understand that they won't necessarily be as good at it as you. So you need to hire multiple people to compensate. Only once you are booking 4 to 6 calls a day consistently, do you know what, I'm going to put this as 6. Only once you are booking 6 calls a day consistently, then you stop. Okay? So the point I'm making here is, like, if you're booking 6 calls a day, that's 6 hours a day of appointments, right? And, you're probably going to conduct like 3 or 4 of them. And, then you've got your follow-ups to do, you've got your prospecting to do, etc., right? So that's kind of where you need to be, like 6 to 8 calls a day. And then the rest of the time you should be spent doing client delivery. And if you haven't got anything to do beyond those 2 things, then it's outreach. So know that this needs to be consistently. So you need to see your appointment setters or your outreachers perform like this for at least a month before you stop doing outreach yourself. So if you hire an appointment setter or a series of them, and they come on board and start booking you 6 calls a day in the first week, that's amazing. But you should not stop doing outreach yourself until they've done that for at least a month. Because right now, your business is fragile insofar as the only thing driving revenue is you doing outreach. And so when you hire someone, that doesn't absolve you of the responsibility to do outreach. It doesn't. It only does once they've performed consistently for an entire month. So once you're booking like 6 calls a day, every day for a month, then you can stop doing the outreach yourself. But until then, you still need to do it. And this is a rule. Like, if you actually want to get results, you have to follow this. Too many entrepreneurs shoot themselves in the foot by making hires that get results in the first week or two. But then once the excitement of the new role tails off, the hires can underperform, leaving the entrepreneur in the shit. And trust me, like, as soon as you stop doing outreach, you lose the momentum that books calls. Like, outreach is a latency game. Sometimes you can make a cold call and book an appointment from that call 2 weeks from now. So you do not want to stop this until you know that your appointment setters have booked calls for at least a month, because then you've got momentum to count on as well. But what you don't want to do is just stop doing it until you know for sure that your appointment setters are capable of booking the calls that you would otherwise book. So never, ever stop outreaching yourself until you've had at least 4 back-to-back weeks of way more calls than you used to book yourself, i.e. 6 to 8 a day. And I'm going to put this here. So this is the rule. If you have people doing outreach for you, but you still have free time, i.e. you're not doing a sales call or client delivery, then you don't have enough appointments and you need to do more outreach yourself or hire more people to do outreach. The goal is for you to truly have no spare time to do anything except sales calls and client delivery. Like, the way that you get to 10K a month is to ensure that the only thing that you have time to do is deliver results for your clients or conduct sales calls. Like, that's your entire calendar day, is just sales calls and client results. Not 3 little gaps of, hours of doing nothing. If you find yourself with gaps in your day, you need to get outreaching and hiring for this. Note that the crucial mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make at the start of hiring is only hiring 1, maybe 2 appointment setters. So you want to make it totally unreasonable for you not to succeed. Hire 5, 6, 7, or 8 people. Hire a ton. You're only going to pay them per appointment anyway, so it didn't cost you anything. Now, we discuss how to hire and manage appointment setters in way more depth in Easy Grow, so you're going to want to go down this route eventually anyway. This video exists to point in the right direction. So let me tell you something. Like, the point I'm making here is, when you come to hire appointment setters, don't hire 1, don't hire 2, don't hire 3. Go and hire like 7 or 8. Because ask yourself, if you had 8 people working for you full time, doing 100 outreaches a day each, do you think you'd have a full calendar? Yes, because it's unreasonable to not have a full calendar. And the thing about appointment setters is you pay them per appointment and you pay them per deal closed. So the way that we talk about this, how to incentivize them in Easy Grow and stuff like that, and you can explore that by going here. Yes, this is a pitch CTA. But because you're paying them on results, they don't cost you anything. So you could have 25 and you only pay them when you get an appointment or when you get a sale. And so because of that, there is no expense to having a ton of them. They are expendable. They're assets to you that don't cost you anything unless they perform. And so there's no reason to not go and hire like 8 or 9 or 10. And so again, if you want step-by-step instructions on how to do this, you can just go to Easy Grow and book a call and we can explain. So the second thing to outsource or hire for is your personal work bullshit. So the thing is like, what's going to happen as you build this business is you're going to do like a ton of tasks and, things that are honestly just like bullshit. So the next step after outreach is hiring someone to manage all of your personal work bullshit. Personal work bullshit is basically low leverage tasks that must be done to sustain the business and its systems. They are irrelevant to outreach, sales, or client delivery, or they are relevant to these things, but they're just monotonous tasks that can be done by a $3 an hour VA. They are manager tasks, super low skill, and just annoying things that you have to do to keep things going. So these tasks are categorized by taking a lot of time, but not much mental horsepower. So for inspiration on what your personal work bullshit might be, you can look at this list here. It's not definitive, it's more so designed to get your brain firing on what can be outsourced. So if we take a quick look at this, I've got written out 500 VA-able tasks. So when I say VA-able, VA stands for virtual assistant. So someone that you want to look to hire pretty much immediately after your appointment setting hiring spree, you should go and hire. By the way, I'm just going to make this very clear right now, like action item, go and hire 5 appointment setters. that's, in fact, look, let's actually, if I just move back in my chair here, because I need to adjust this. If I just break this line, I'm gonna edit this real time. Let's do this right now. So this is an action item for right now, and I meant to put this in the doc, but when I got round to it, when I was making it earlier, I forgot. So before we get into the VA thing, because the VA thing is basically how to hire virtual assistants. So a virtual assistant is a remote assistant that works remotely online, typically from the Philippines or somewhere like that, and you can pay them $3 to $5 per hour to do monotonous tasks that require low skill but a lot of time, okay? But action item, right now, okay, spur of the moment, after this video, go and hire 5 to 10 appointment setters right now. Pay on performance, pay per appointment, pay per close appointment setters, go and do it right now. And if you're not sure how to make a hire, then you can watch the hiring video that will be coming up in this week 7 training, okay? Anyway, back to this virtual assistant thing. So action item, go and do that right now, do it after the video, start looking into it. So the key to this awareness, the key to this is awareness. So what I've got for you here is 500 VA-able tasks. And what this means is 500 tasks that would happen in a coaching business or a marketing agency that could be done by a virtual assistant. Now, a lot of these are not tasks that you might necessarily do or have to do. And I'm not saying that you need to do all these things or outsource all of these things. What I'm saying is that this is just some examples of what a VA could potentially do, okay? And what you want to do is just have a quick sort of skim through them and a quick read through them to give you some inspiration on what you might want to do. So for example, optimizing file sizes. So one thing that I have to do with my really long videos is use something called Handbrake to compress the file sizing of the videos that I make. So when I make a 5-hour mindset video, it comes out as like bloody 30 gigabytes. And uploading that to Wistia costs us a ton of money. And so like what I'll do is I'll have my virtual assistant handbrake that file down. So all the videos that I make have optimized file sizes so that our Wistia bill is drastically reduced from like, bloody 5K a month or something. Another example could be like tagging tasks. So like if you've got Asana and you use Asana, then the VA can tag different people in different tasks if you've got a team, And so these are just some examples. Again, it's not an extensive list. There's going to be things on here that you don't do. There's going to be things on here that you do, things that you don't do. It doesn't matter. But it's just some examples. But the key to this and the key to outsourcing your personal work bullshit is awareness and becoming aware of what you do that you shouldn't be doing. Now, at the end of the day, you can pay a virtual assistant $3 to $5 an hour to do tasks. So let's say that your time is worth $20 to $50 an hour with your current revenue level, which is quite probable. If you're making like 3K a month, then your time is probably worth $30 an hour, or maybe like $20 an hour or something like that, And then what this means is that if your time is worth $20 an hour and you can pay a virtual assistant, $5 an hour to do the same task that would take you an hour, then you're essentially getting a 4x return on your time by hiring a VA. So virtual assistants, they make these tasks, they just do these tasks. And how to outsource? They just do these tasks. And what this means is you can go to someone in the Philippines, you can hire them. I've got a whole masterclass on how to do this coming up in the next couple of videos. And you can pay them $3 an hour. And instead of you doing it, they do it. And if you think that your time is worth, $20 an hour or whatever, or you think that your time is worth, $30 an hour or $50 an hour, or even $10 an hour, hiring someone to do that for half the cost, 25% of the cost, 10% of the cost is worth doing, okay? Now, I've got an action item for you here to show you how to outsource your personal work bullshit, and more specifically, how to figure out what to outsource. Because the big problem that lots of entrepreneurs have is, their time is kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. And what that basically means is the reason they're not scaling and the reason they're not growing is because they don't have time to focus on the things that matter. And often it's the case that they're not just spending all their time on one big thing that needs to be cut out, but instead they're spending their time on thousands of little things or hundreds of little things or dozens of little things that need to be outsourced. So to figure out what to outsource and to figure out what your personal work bullshit actually is, we're going to do the action item of 7 days of task logging. So I want you to start doing this from tomorrow, and you can set a week-long timer. So what you want to do is set a timer to go off for every 30 minutes during your working hours for 7 days straight. And then every time the timer goes off, you want to write down exactly what you did in the last 30 minutes. You want to be thorough and you want to be detailed. So not just outreach, but exactly what tasks are relevant to it. And you can do this for your work life and also your personal life as well, but you want to do this right now. So set these timers for tomorrow, and they're going to go off for 30 minutes, every single 30 minutes for 7 days straight during your working time, right? And you want to do this for everything, like all your personal stuff, all your work stuff. And so like, let's say for example, that in the last 30 minutes you were doing some sales stuff. What you wouldn't do in the last 30 minutes when you write down what you've done is write sales. No, you'd be like, oh, I just finished a sales call. I sent a payment link to a prospect. I sent a call recording to my business partner, to their business partner rather. I updated the sales tracking sheet. I logged the call recording. I emailed referrals to prospect. So it's like, if you're doing sales, what does that mean? If you're doing outreach, what does that mean? Like, okay, I did outreach. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, I made cold calls and then I did some lead sourcing, then I follow up on people. Like you've got to get really clear on the nuances and exactly what you're doing and the exact task. Okay? So if you put like, you wouldn't just put like last 30 minutes client onboarding. No, you'd put like, sending invoice to client or, onboarding client into support system or setting up email or whatever, So the more granular that you are with the tasks you complete, the more likely you are to catch tasks that could be outsourced to a virtual assistant. So you can only outsource tasks to a virtual assistant when you know that those tasks exist. I hope you get me. So after day 7, and once you've done this for a full week, what you want to do is log all of your manual written tasks here. So you're going to get yourself a book or something to write in. Every 30 minutes, you're going to, in granular detail, list out what you've done over the last 30 minutes. And once you've hit day 7, on day 8, once you've done this for a full 7 days, we're going to come and log it here. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the book and you're going to write down all the tasks that you've done. Now, if a task repeats, you're going to put how many times it repeats here. What you're then going to do is categorize the task. So is it outreach? Is it sales? Is it delivery? Is it finances? Is it content? Or is it bullshit? Again, bullshit is just anything you do that isn't one of these things. Okay? And you put in how many times the task repeats. Then what you do is you put in how much time it takes to complete the task. Okay? And then what this will do is it will take the repeating factor of it, and it will take how much time it takes to complete it, and it will calculate how many minutes per week you're spending on this task. Then what you can do is you can list whether or not the task is skilled. So a skilled task means that it requires some level of skill to complete. And, if it requires any level of skill, then it is a skilled task. So like, for example, recording a loom to send to my prospects about like results for the clients, for a client to come on board. Or, I don't know, something like that. So if it requires skill, yes. If not, no. And then what you do is you do this for every single task, and there might be 100 or more of them, might be less, might be more. And then what you can do is you can come here to column E, and you can go to data, and you can sort the sheet by how many minutes each task takes. Then what you do is you take the bullshit tasks and you look at all the tasks really, and then you look at the ones that require no skill, and then you outsource them. So it doesn't matter what category it's in. If it requires very little skill and takes a lot of time, then it should be outsourced. And so by coming here, data, and sorting it by minutes, you'll be able to see how much time you're spending on low skilled tasks and where that time is going. When you then come to hire a virtual assistant, you will then be able to ultimately come in. And what we'll do, just to clean this up a bit, is we'll delete these components here. And there we go, okay? And so now that you've got this, you'll be able to see exactly what the problem is. Because the problem that most entrepreneurs have with hiring and outsourcing is they actually have no idea what they're hiring for, and they have no idea what they're doing for. This makes that incredibly clear and incredibly obvious, okay? And this should excite you because, you know, like for example, let's say that you're uploading, 20 sales call recordings to Google Drive. So let's say that, one thing you could hire a virtual assistant for, Zoom is expensive. And so when you do your sales calls through Zoom, you obviously have the call recordings uploaded to Zoom. And if you have lots of recording in there, then Zoom charges you more money. And so what you can do is hire a virtual assistant to take every sales call recording in Zoom. Every time you do a sales call, they take the recording, they download it, they then upload it to Google Drive, and then they format it, name it, store it away, folder it away neatly in Google Drive, then they delete it from Zoom. And that, if you did that yourself, it might take you 3 minutes. And if you're doing that for 20 people a week, then that's costing you an hour a week. And again, it's like, this seems so insignificant, like, oh yeah, it's just an hour, whatever. But when you've got, 10 to 15 to 20 equivalents of this, you're spending half your time doing low leverage bullshit tasks that require no skill and can be outsourced to someone for all of $5 an hour. Okay? And so every little thing, everything that you do that is low skill, high time should be outsourced. Okay? And that's pretty much just that. Again, we're not just outsourcing the personal work bullshit here. Pretty much all of these things should be outsourced, but there are going to be things for example, doing uploading YouTube videos, or, taking your YouTube content and uploading it to Buzzsprout, the podcasting platform, or, uploading all of the thumbnail split tests and stuff like that. All of these little things that you do, they require a lot of attention and a lot of work. So once you've done this, it's time to get hiring and making standard operating procedures for the virtual assistant. And don't worry, I'll be showing you how to do this in later videos. Now, fortunately for you, we have videos coming up on how to hire a virtual assistant and how to build standard operating procedures for them to follow. If you don't know what a standard operating procedure is, don't worry, don't panic. I'm going to show you exactly how to make it work. So the 10K a month hiring threshold. So let me tell you, once you've got an outreach team and a VA on board, you should have enough time to get to 6 or even multi-six figures yearly. This is the threshold for where you make 10K a month. If you cannot do 10K a month with a team of appointment setters and a solid virtual assistant, you're doing something seriously wrong. If you've made a solid virtual assistant hire and you have a solid set of outreach hires and you're still and you're booking consistent appointments, but you're not managing bullshit tasks, but you're still not at 10K a month after 3 to 6 months, then you're either charging too little, you're not keeping clients for long enough, your show rate is too low, your sales conversion rate is too low, or your delivery sucks. If you can't do 10K a month with one VA and a bunch of appointment setters, you're doing something seriously wrong, and it's probably one of these things. So you start by outsourcing outreach. You hire 5 to 10 appointment setters. Then you outsource all of your personal work bullshit. You hire a virtual assistant. These are the only hires that you need to make 10K a month. You do not need a sales rep because you're not going to have the volume. You do not need someone to do client results because you do not have the volume. This is it. This is all you have to do to get to 10K a month. Literally, again, I can't stress it enough. All you need to do is find these KPIs and find a way to drive enough volume through them. That is it. It is so simple. But people drastically overcomplicate. Let's come down here. People drastically overcomplicate getting 10K a month. They put it on this massive pedestal. They deify it. They make it this godlike achievement. But really, all it is just finding some numbers and finding some people. So it's simple. So once you've hit 10K a month, you can start looking at outsourcing your delivery. And then eventually you can look at outsourcing your sales. But again, we're not going to talk about this because it's not even relevant to you getting to 10K a month. Easy Grow is where we talk about these things. So here's a rule. You absolutely must get to at least 10K a month doing sales and delivery yourself. You do not deserve to hire salespeople or delivery people until you're at 6 figures. Honestly, probably even 20 to 30K a month. I've got clients who make 30 to 50K a month in high ticket heaven, in Easy Grow, who make that with just a simple appointment setting team and a couple of virtual assistants. So we're not even going to worry about making these hires in this video, or at least the Imperium Academy, okay? So basically, if you can't get to 10K a month with an outreach team and a virtual assistant, you have a lot of skilling up to do before you can even think about making your next hire for sales or delivery. So here's why. First of all, you can't hire delivery people up to this point because you don't have enough clients to get someone on full time. You don't have a clear-cut process to deliver proper results, and you still need to streamline your delivery process to make it smoother. You know, you should personally handle every single client you get until at least 6 figures. Like, you owe your clients that much. And your client results are the main thing, which is why you should be doing them, right? You can't hire salespeople before this point because you don't have enough call volume to find them. Like, a good salesperson will not work for you unless you can fill their calendar, okay? Now, either because you don't have enough call volume, you're not good enough at sales to hire, train, and manage a salesperson, and you don't have enough call recordings to show them how it's done. Do not make the mistake of thinking you are in any position to just hire for the skill. So a lot of entrepreneurs who don't like sales and are introverted say, I'm just going to hire a salesperson to do the sales for me. Well, anyone that's studied the mindset module knows that that's not going to work because that's just resistance and bullshit. If someone says, I'm going to hire a media buyer to do the results, like that's like, people used to do this in the marketing agency space. Like, they thought that they could come in, send some emails to get clients and then just arbitrage the talent and sort of drop service the talent. It doesn't work because like good talent, like good skilled talent is impossible to hire, manage, recognize, train, and work with unless you are good skilled talent. Like, if you're not good at the thing, it's impossible to build a team around the thing. Okay? The coach doesn't play, but he needs to coach, he needs to understand it better than the players. If you can't do it, you don't deserve to hire for it. Get that through your head, and please don't make the mistake. Like a lot of people, like, they're just like, oh, I'm just going to hire a sales guy and he's just going to do the sales for me. It's like, well, if that worked and that was how businesses were built, then everyone would do that. But no one does it because it doesn't work until you know how to sell. So for other roles in the company down the line, like ops management, sales management, head of marketing, this isn't true. So eventually, like, when you get to 7 figures, high multi 6 figures, like, there are 6 and 7 figure roles, 6 and multi 6 figure and sometimes 7 figure roles that are a sure thing hire. So you're getting insane talent. So like, for example, like, I have a sales manager who I pay very handsomely. Now, when I hired him, I didn't really know how to do sales management. Like, I'd done it myself for a little bit. I knew how to sort of get reps to perform, but I didn't know how to do it really well. So when I hired him, I kind of spoke his language. I could sort of, make sure he was doing some stuff right. But same thing with like my marketing, my CMO. So I've got a chief marketing officer, and she's a killer, and she knows she knows way more about marketing and ads than me. Like, I was proficient enough to get to like 500-600K a month, 8 figures, but to get to multi 8 figures with my ad skill, like, was never going to happen. So I had to hire someone. And so as you go further down the line in business, you don't need to know someone's job to hire them to do it. But specifically for glorified freelancers trying to outsource sales and service delivery, you absolutely do. It's like a restaurant with a chef. Like, the owner of the restaurant doesn't need to know like how to cook and any of that stuff. But for some reason, for a marketing agency and coaching consultants, you can't do that from a sales perspective, or from, unless you got like really lucky. Like, you could find a salesperson who's like insanely talented and does all their outreach themselves, does all the sales calls themselves, but those people are entrepreneurs and they're just going to leave you. I promise you that skilled, talented people and coaches or delivery people, like talented salespeople, like truly skilled, talented salespeople and truly talented coach and delivery people, will not be attracted to your glorified freelance 3K a month business. Because truly talented people can work anywhere they want because they're talented. They're not going to come to you. All you're going to do is attract shit people. Like, shit salespeople attract shit salespeople. And shit delivery people attract shit delivery people. And if you're a shit salesperson or a shit delivery person, you're going to attract exactly the same thing. So translating the big four, like, this is just something for you to look forward to in your business. Because the question is like, what comes after all of this? Like, what do you have to do or work on once you've fully outsourced your appointment booking, sales, delivery, and bullshit tasks? That's a good question. Because like, what happens once you don't have to do sales calls anymore? Like, I can tell you, like, I've not done a sales call now for like 2.5 years, 3 years nearly. I haven't done any coaching calls for my clients or any delivery for my clients for, again, like 2 years. I haven't done any outreach or made any outreach efforts for probably like 3 years. And, you know, I haven't managed any of the finances stuff. Like, what the hell do I do? Like, this is when the fun really starts. Because once you're here, you have all your mental horsepower, time and energy to work on the business, not in it. And this should be your ultimate goal. You see, this is where you can start exploring things like taking a personal brand more seriously, running ads, developing your products, research and development, strategic events, masterminds. This is truly a great place to be, and I can tell you from experience. Like, the pain that you feel of having to do all of this yourself is not forever. But you shouldn't rush to get here, because it takes years to build all this stuff and build a team that truly crushes without you. Just start with appointments of it. So if I didn't work, I would still make $1 million a month. And that's taken me nearly 10 years to build that infrastructure, or 8 years, really, 7 years. And so, you know, it's possible to get there to the point where you can make $1 million a month and do nothing except from just make some content. But yeah, obviously I do more than that. This is kind of the thing, is you have a choice when you get to that point. Like, you can make 100K a month passively, like, pretty easily once you figure it all out. And, you know, you kind of come to this point of like, do you want to just do nothing, or do you want to do 10 times more? And I opted for the 10 times more route. So what we're going to do is sort of round this off with visualizing decentralization. So centralization and decentralization are really important things to understand that will kind of give you a mental visual and a mental model to solidify and understand the importance of hiring for these roles. So centralization is a term that refers to how much control and attention that you must exercise over or give to these parts of your business for the mechanism to function smoothly. So decentralization occurs when the founder of the business releases control over an entity or part of their business, or when it no longer requires their attention to run. So for example, my sales team is decentralized, which means that it doesn't require my energy, control, or attention to run. I've got a sales manager and he manages the sales reps. And so what this is about is it's about how many variables in the business you have to manage. So right now, I manage my sales manager. That's one person that I have to manage and keep in check and accountable, okay? My sales manager manages probably across the setting, the sales team, I don't know, like 15 people, okay? And so what that means is my sales manager manages 15 people and I only have to manage one person. So by managing one person, I manage 15, if that makes sense. By the same notion that I have media buyers, video editors, copywriters, I have like 5 to 6 people in my ad media buying and creative team. But then instead of having to manage 6 people, I have my chief marketing officer manage them. And so the way that the company will be structured for you as you grow is you want to decentralize, which means that you still control and manage everything, but through one variable as opposed to like a dozen. Does that make sense? And so, like, for example, like with my YouTube team, I've got a thumbnailer, I've got an editor. And then I've got my editor manages the thumbnailer, and he manages the titles, and he manages all of the community and all this stuff. And so if you look at the diagram below, what you want to imagine is in the first diagram, centralized, the core here is you, okay? And basically what this looks like is this is where you're doing everything yourself. So all these variables here are things that have to happen in the business in order for the business to run. And right now, everything's connected to you. So everything is connected to you. What you want to learn to do is decentralize, where you kind of still sit in the middle here, but this is kind of a poor visualization. The visualization would be you sit in the middle, but instead of having 20 things connected to you, you have 4 things connected to you, and then 5 things connected to each of those 4 things. Does that make sense? The goal is to achieve the second diagram where your involvement is minimalized. All business starts with centralization. In the first year or 2 of business, everything runs through the founder. However, the founder is a human being with 2 limiting factors. First of all, time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Second of all, energy, calorific potential converted into cognitive or physical outputs. Founders struggle with centralization because by the time they've dealt with all their parts, they have no time or energy left to focus on decentralization. In other words, they get stuck in the business. So here's a 4-step workflow to decentralize your business if you're struggling with time and energy centralization. So first of all is to simplify. This is just making your business simple. Remove variables, serve one niche, sell one thing. Less is more. Long-term decentralization starts at the genesis of the business. Like for example, with Imperium acquisition, up until 700K a month, I had like one niche and one product. Niches and products are the 2 biggest leverage points for simplicity. If you have 2 niches, you need 2 of every part. If you have 2 products, you need 2 of every part. More parts mean more management, means less time and energy. So because we only have one niche, one product, we only need one sales script, one traffic source, one funnel, one accounting strategy, one client support method, one brand, one pricing plan, one Stripe account. Now that I'm scaling to multi-seven figures, I need to have lots of products and lots of things and lots of niches. You don't need to do that, okay? Is your business operating in more than one market, more than one product? If so, you just have one. You should just have one. So list your goal, then make a list of everything you need to do for your company to achieve its goal, and then eliminate. So the next stage is elimination, to remove waste. So ask yourself what the goal is, and then ask yourself what is needed as a minimum to achieve that goal, and then remove everything that doesn't contribute to that goal from your list. So for example, if you want to make $1 million per month, my requirements are 1,000 appointments a month, the best product, and a good sales team. Those are the only 3 things at first principle that I need to get to $1 million a month. Anything that doesn't contribute to these 3 things has been removed. So you want to make a list of everything that needs to be done for the company to fulfill its goal, and then eliminate what doesn't. Then automate. So after you've purged the list, ask yourself what can be automated or run through a software, a Zap, or an app, or some AI. For example, YouTube descriptions can be done by ChatGPT. Expense receipts can be uploaded by an app. Sales call recordings can also upload to Zoom. Like you could create a Zap where a Zoom upload automatically goes to Google Drive and then deletes from Zoom, I expect. Okay? List potential automation ideas to everything in the list. And then delegate. You are now left with tasks that must be run by a human, but the human does not have to be you. And then if you want to delegate, you just follow the instructions above in this resource. So the key here is understanding the idea of decentralization, where you're not, instead of everything running through you, you have a few things that run through you, and then everything else runs through those few things. And in case you're wondering what is connecting these things, like it's basically the flow of information. Like you've got all these things connecting to you, and then all this information is flowing to and from you. But you want to mitigate how much information has to flow into and from you by doing these things. So the first way to decentralize is to simplify your business, right? By only having one niche and one product. The second thing is basically eliminating things. Anything that doesn't help you achieve your goal, you basically get rid of. Because a lot of you are going to have things that you're centralized and attached to that you don't even need to achieve your goal. And then if you can't eliminate it, you automate it. And if you can't automate it, you delegate it. And I can tell you for free that you're absolutely going to have to delegate things like appointment booking, things like sales, things like delivery, okay? Because you can't automate them. So last but not least, for 6-figure decentralization is an action item. And I want you to do this right now, because here's the thing is you are an action taker insofar as the fact that you have made the decision to invest in Premium and you're actually taking this seriously. Right? And so what I want you to do right now is go into the school group and post about what you've learned in week 7 so far. Like it doesn't have to be a long post, just kind of like a brief, quick summary of the things that you've learned in week 7 and like what are the key sort of takeaways for you and what have you enjoyed. And also another thing is talk about your confidence levels in getting to 10K a month, because what's really crucial here is you're starting to see momentum and you're starting to see progress towards your goal here. Like you're starting to think like a six-figure entrepreneur. You've started to actually get into taking the actions and stuff like that. And so what I want you to do is in this school group post, just talk about how confident you are in getting to 10K a month. And you can share honestly how if you feel like you're not confident or you are, but I just want to start seeing you like taking this seriously and saying like, yes, I am really confident I can do this. And then I want you to make a promise to everyone in the community that you're going to start hiring a virtual assistant and an outreach team. Making this public will massively increase your accountability. So, 3-part school group post. Talk about what you've learned and your thoughts on week 7 so far. Then talk about your confidence levels in getting to 10K a month. Then make a promise to everyone that you're going to start hiring a VA and an outreach team. And again, doing this publicly, your accountability is going to go through the roof and it's going to work way better. And what you can do if you want is just take a screenshot of the centralization graph or decentralization graph, you know, to kind of show people what that means. But yeah, that's basically everything for 6-figure decentralization. It's a crucial idea. We've talked about, in summary, how to do the math to get to 6 figures, the big 4 KPIs, big 4 troubleshooting, sub 10K a month priorities, time and energy constraints, 10K a month hiring hierarchy, the 10K a month hiring threshold, transcending the big 4, and actually visualizing decentralization. So go and do this right now. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it on to-do list. Just open school. You can just go to the community right now. It will take you 2 minutes to do this. And it's going to hold you massively accountable and do things to your unconscious that I haven't got the time to explain right now. It's going to help you a lot. The confidence thing especially, like telling everyone like, hey guys, going through week 7, mad confident about 10K a month. I've learned this and I'm making a promise to Charlie and to everyone else that I'm actually going to go and do this VA thing and this outreach team thing. Like if you go and do that, the chances of you actually doing this massively amplify. And then once you've done that, the next action item is obviously to do the 7-day task logging, and then also to go ahead and go and hire 5 to 10 appointment setters. Okay. So that's everything for 6-figure decentralization. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.